The Home Trip by ShiningEve. Chapter 2. Keep it a secret, please. Shuri sat directly in front of Peter, maintaining eye contact as she shoveled down the rest of his portion. After watching her do so, Peter stood up to head back to his class. Everyone waved goodbye, except for Tony, who picked up a clean napkin and, while waving it around, cried out dramatically, "Farewell, my friend. Safe travels." Peter flipped him off while walking away. He heard more than a few contained snorts of laughter. The elevator brought him down to one of the intern labs. He slid into the back of the group, grinning and winking at Aslan. Aslan just shook his head. Idiot. The class was getting a demonstration from Ali, who was making a glucose level detector that didn't need a blood sample. She was explaining how it worked when Bruce walked in. "Hey everyone, I'm here to bring you to the Avengers gym. If you will please follow me, we can get there in no time. Sorry, Ali, this was brought down from the top." The class cheered, bidding goodbye to Ali. She smiled, seemingly unaffected, but Peter knew she was a little upset. He pulled out his phone to text her. "I'll come by later to help you test it." He got a thumbs up emoji in return. Peter felt someone staring at the back of his head. Turning around, he saw Flash angrily trying to stare a hole through his brain. Who are you texting, penis? Your girlfriend?" he hissed. "Nice try, tryhard." Peter stared unamusedly back. Usually at school, he would duck away, but being at home and less than 5 floors away from his assassin parents, he felt a level of confidence rise in him. Before he could confront him, the elevator doors opened. Bruce stepped forward and punched in the override to allow the class in. Each student stepped through and was confirmed. Flash Thompson, override confirmed. Betty Brandt, override confirmed. Pietro Romanoff Barnes, override unnecessary. At his name, Sam and Steve, who had been sparring inside, perked up and looked at him. Peter ignored his classmates, hiding in the back of the group to avoid the two Avengers. Ned looked incredulous, and MJ was emotionless as usual. The rest of the class stared at him with wide eyes, except for Flash, who crossed his arms and scoffed. "Like you could possibly get into Avengers Tower." Luckily, he shut up when he caught sight of the two Avengers. The rest of the class was staring wide-eyed at the heroes. Peter gave them angry glares when Sam caught his eyes and held back a snort of laughter. Steve also gave Sam the pendant "I'm disappointed in you" stare. Sam just rolled his eyes and discreetly gave him the bird. Some members of the class saw and laughed quietly. Steve remained oblivious. While this whole mess happened, Clint, Natasha, Carol, Rhodey, Bucky, Okoye, and Nakia walked into the gym. The class went absolutely silent. The Avengers in the gym grouped up. Steve, Bucky, Natasha, Sam, and Clint, and Rhodey, Carol, Okoye, and Nakia in the other. Steve spoke up. "Hey everyone, you've been given special privilege by us to come and learn self-defense. We're going to divide you into 2 groups. Each will put with one of the teams." Natasha stepped forward. "If you're a 1, you're with Carol and Okoye's group. If you're a 2, you're with mine and Yasha's group." A girl named Annabeth raised her hand. "Who's Yasha?" Bucky half-heartedly raised a hand. "That'll be me." The class looked confused, but didn't question it. They were too scared of Natasha and Okoye to speak up too much. Natasha counted off groups with MJ and Ned together. When she reached Peter, she smiled. "You are staying with me and Dad." Peter nodded, moving toward group 2. Before they were about to start, Steve called out again. "Just a quick reminder, Please no excessive swearing. The class looked sincere when they nodded, but Shuri and Tony walked in sniggering. He's telling y'all that because he swears the most out of all of us, was Tony's remark. Steve turned a unique shade of plum red. Peter caught Shuri smirking at him, and he backed away, waving a finger at her face. Tony looked at him too, before exclaiming, "We need you for science," and trying to drag him out of the gym. With Shuri's help, Tony wouldn't be able to move Peter an inch if he wanted to stay where he was. Bucky's glare stopped them in their tracks. Peter shook them off, but Shuri jumped on his back and forced Peter to carry her with him. Peter saw Carol silently laughing in the corner with Nakia, who almost no one recognized, other than MJ, who knew every single feminist in the world by name somehow. Peter would bet Tony's fortune that at least 5 members of his class had melted brains. It was actually really funny. He saw Flash's jaw furiously working, probably thinking of something to say. The only reason he hadn't was because a few members of the Avengers were pretty scary. Peter laughed when he saw Ned's face. His jaw was on the floor. MJ looked smug. Flash was about to explode from oversaturation of blood in his face. Shuri was still cackling in his ear. Peter shrugged before mumbling, "I should probably explain this." Bucky snorted. "Just explain, Pietro." This was gonna be fun. End of chapter.